Good evening and welcome to another episode of ShireTV. I'm Darrell W. Perry. A Nevada woman arrested for voter fraud in the 2012 election claims she was trying to test the system's integrity and pled guilty and accepted a plea deal on January 4th, forcing her to pay almost $2,500 and promise to stay out of trouble. Roxanne Rubin was arrested on November 3, 2012 after trying to vote twice, once at her polling site in Henderson and then at a second time in Las Vegas. Rubin said that she was trying to show how easy it is to commit voter fraud with just a signature. "This has always been an issue with me," she said. "I just feel the system is flawed." Rubin is a Republican and a supporter of voter ID laws. Democratic Nevada Secretary of State Ross Miller, who has called for a voter ID law, slammed Rubin in a statement. Quote, "If Ms. Rubin was trying to demonstrate how easy it is to commit voter fraud, she clearly failed and proved just the opposite." End quote. On January 30th, the Speaker of the New Hampshire House of Representatives ruled that a petition for redress can only be heard if they have a legislative sponsor. Her ruling was challenged, and it was upheld by a vote of 276 to 77. Here's the audio from that discussion.
Representative Lambert is recognized for a parliamentary inquiry.
Madam Chairman, I would like to know what the procedure is for moving a petition as listed in the calendar to committee.
Petitions that are sponsored by representatives pursuant to the House rules that were adopted on our opening day, particularly changes to Rules 4 and 18, would require that the clerk reads a summary, and the Speaker can either refer those to committee or simply have them retained on file. A member may make a motion to refer a petition that is sponsored by a representative to a committee, and that would happen if the House so ordered.
Excellent. Madam Speaker, under Rule 4, would it not be appropriate for me to make a motion for the House to direct the would it not be appropriate for me to make a motion to direct that request of our citizens to a committee?
As I said, a petition that is sponsored by a representative that has gone through the process at OLS will be read by summary by the clerk. I don't believe that you are referring to one of the petitions that was today read by summary by the clerk.
Madam Speaker.
Which the member is recognized for a further parliamentary inquiry.
Excellent. Thank you. Under my understanding of our House procedures, the House actually uses past precedent.
Is there a parliamentary inquiry
Yes,
here?
ma'am. Okay. I'm sorry. Madam Speaker, I'm trying to understand, based on our adopted House rules, Mason's procedures, and the guidelines of our House, we use the New Hampshire Constitution as the foremost mechanism by which this House operates. Under Article 32 of the New Hampshire Constitution, it says that the people have the right in orderly and peaceably manner to assemble and to consult upon the common good, to give instructions to their representatives, and to request of the legislative body by petition or remonstrance redress of grievances, wrongs done by them, and the grievances they suffer. Also, under Article 31, it says the meeting and meetings of the legislature, for what purpose the legislature shall assemble for the redress of public grievances and for making such laws as the public good may require. We have before us a petition of 112 individuals who have properly formed a request and petition. Are you telling me that there is no method to get that petition before a committee to be heard?
No, that is not what I am saying, Representative. What I have said is that petitions that are sponsored by representatives will be read by summary and may be filed or referred to a committee, and the House, unless otherwise ordered by the House, The manner in which the legislature deals with redress of grievances is to file bills. And if there is a member in the legislature that would like to file a bill, as we all know, every member can file a bill. And that is the manner in which that would happen. That's how our House rules address it.
Madam Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we, as a body...
The member was not recognized for a motion. If your motion is about the petition to which you refer, that motion would not be in order.
Excellent. I would like to challenge the order of the chair.
The member has challenged the order of the ruling of the chair. Will members please take their seats? Who's requested a roll call? Representative Valancourt requests a roll call. Is that sufficiently seconded? It is not sufficient. It is not sufficiently seconded. Okay. I will take that this time, but when I ask for seconds, you need to stand up right away if you intend to second the motion. This will be a roll call vote. The question before the House is on the ruling of the chair relative to petitions. The question is, notwithstanding the appeal, shall the ruling of the chair be upheld? The chair recognizes the member from Manchester, Representative Valancourt, to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise to speak in favor of the ruling of the chair. And I do so as someone who has been known on occasion to challenge the chair in the past. However, when we go to challenge a chair, it should be based upon hard and fast information and proof that we are correct. This whole affair embarrasses me, and it should embarrass each and every one of us. This is an attempt by a group that is so-called free speech to silence the free speech of somebody. To compound that with this type of motion is frankly sad and embarrassing. I ask you to vote to uphold the ruling of the chair so we can get on to the business of this House.
The question before the House is, notwithstanding the challenge, shall the ruling of the chair be upheld? This is a roll call vote. If you're in favor, you'll press the green button. If you're opposed, you'll press the red button. The chair recognizes Representative Lambert for a parliamentary inquiry.
Madam Speaker, if you believe, as I believe, that our job is to represent the public and to uphold our rules, and Madam Speaker, if you actually agree with my interpretation of Rule 4, which says referral of bills, etc., to committees, the Speaker shall refer all bills, resolutions, memorials, accounts, and other matters coming before the House to the appropriate committees unless otherwise ordered by the House. That would be the membership. The Speaker may refer the same jointly to two committees or a special committee. There is no restriction in Rule 4 that says a bill...
Will the member please suspend? The member
Yes,
was recognized for a parliamentary inquiry.
Madam Speaker, if you were to interpret this the same way that I do, which is that a request from our citizens is a constitutional requirement of this legislature to hear whether we agree with them or not, would you actually press the red button to overturn the ruling of the chair so that I may bring a motion forward to actually forward a petition from our citizens so that it may have the public hearing that it deserves? Thank you.
The question before the House is, notwithstanding the ruling of the chair, shall the ruling be upheld? If you're in favor of upholding the ruling, you'll be pressing the green button. If you're opposed, you'll be pressing the red button. The chair recognizes Representative Richardson for a parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I know that the issue of petitions was thoroughly debated when we adopted our rules, and I know that we removed petitions from Rule 4 and adopted a new Rule 18, and if I know that this petition that the representative is referring to has not been sponsored by a single legislator in this body, would I now support the ruling of the chair by pushing the green button? Thank you.
The question before the House is, notwithstanding the appeal, shall the ruling of the chair be upheld? If you're in favor of upholding, you will press the green button. If you're opposed, you'll be pressing the red button. Voting stations are open for 30 seconds. The House will be attentive to the state of the vote. 276 having voted in the affirmative, 77 in the negative. The ruling is upheld.
KVAL-TV in Eugene, Oregon reports an Oregon man claims an IRS agent pressured him into sex by threatening a tax penalty. Vincent Burrows filed a lawsuit with the U.S. District Court in Eugene on January 25th against IRS agent Dora Abramson and the federal government. Burrows claims that in August 2011, Abramson called him and said he would be audited by the IRS. He claims that at the time he did not know her. He says that he had not met Abramson before those calls, nor had he heard that he was being audited by the IRS. KVAL has the following report.
Sex, texts, and taxes. A lawsuit portrays an IRS agent as seductress. Good evening, I'm Smita George.
And I'm Nicole Comstock. Thanks for joining us tonight. Yasmin Dar's off tonight, and we'll check in with David Walker a little later in the show.
A Fall Creek man is suing the woman he says seduced him and the United States of America.
KVAL's Lauren Lee spoke with that man today.
Tax season is here, and while many people are crunching the numbers, one man says he got a little more than he bargained for. In this lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court in Eugene, Vincent Burrows says he was seduced by Dora Abramson, a Cottage Grove woman who says she was an IRS agent. The Fall Creek man claims that around August 2011, Abramson called him and said he would be audited by the IRS. He says he didn't know her.
She was sending me texts that she wanted to come out and give me massages because she needed to help me relax.
Over the next 2 months, Burrows says he got several flirtatious text messages from Abramson offering to give him massages, asking to meet with him, and sending racy photos of herself.
She sent me a picture of her face. She goes, "Do you remember me now? Red and fruity."
The lawsuit goes on to say that around September 2011, Abramson came to his home provocatively dressed.
She said that she had the power to fine me 40% or no fine at all. And that if I gave her what she wanted, that she would give me what I wanted.
And she wanted sex.
That's right.
Because of that, Burrows says he had sex with her in his home that day. Now, Burrows says he was sexually harassed, intimidated, and his rights were violated. The IRS cannot comment on this case. In Eugene, Lauren Lee, KVAL News.
Jason Short from the Keene Police Department informed Robin Hood of Keene that when parking enforcement puts chalk on a vehicle's tires, they're conducting a police investigation. Removing that chalk is thus interfering with a police investigation, which is a Class B felony. In New Hampshire, a Class B felony carries a sentence of 1 to 7 years in prison. Here's video of that interaction.
What's going on, buddy?
Not much. Huh?
Where are all your people at?
Oh, we're out and about, you know.
I was hoping to talk to y'all at once, but...
Oh, I am recording audio and video, just so you know.
The reason I wanted to talk to y'all...
Please don't touch my bike, ma'am.
I'm sorry. The reason I wanted to talk to y'all is we hear, not that I necessarily know, that some people, maybe not you, but some people in your group, or maybe people unknown, are taking the chalk off the tires when the parking people put the chalk on. I'm just giving you... So, I'll give you a copy. I'll read along with you if you want.
Okay.
When the parking people put the chalk on, you know, they're marking a time, and in essence, they're starting an investigation, so to speak. So if someone removed that, it's a Class B felony, all right? So my hope was to talk to more than just one at a time, to explain that, you know, if you want to go and put coins in the meter and walk around, that's all up to you. But once you start taking the chalk off the cars, you're committing a felony. And the definition under 641:1(2) is on the other side. I highlighted it. You know, it's under the perjury thing, but that's just where it's. That's just where it's.
What is this RSA, if I might ask?
Right there, falsifying physical evidence. Right? You talking about the one that it references? Right here. See, I highlighted it. 641(1)(2). That defines official proceeding. It just happens to be under the perjury. It's not part of just where the definition is. So take a read on that. You know, if any of your other compadres want to talk to me, they certainly can.
This next video captures a growing trend in our country of police on civilian executions. Gone are the good old days of Andy Griffith-type peace officers. This new breed of law enforcement officer, usually straight out of the chaos of Iraq and Afghanistan, believe that they are above the law. More often than not, these bad cops are usually exonerated, claiming self-defense.
When did it become okay for the LAPD to chase people down and hunt them like an animal and shoot them in the back? When did it become okay for police to do that to begin with? To shoot people in the back? I mean, this is like becoming an everyday occurrence. This particular cop chased the guy down and shot him multiple times while he was running in the back, and then went up and shot him and straight up within 3 or 4 feet, shot him. Claiming, oh, he was in fear of his life. Well, you chasing after somebody in fear of your life? Of course, they said he didn't do anything wrong. He got on paid vacation, and he probably got a raise. I mean, this is the kind of crap in L.A. and across the nation that is out of control, and it's the hiring process. They hire complete maniacs, a lot of them coming back from Iraq, and they give them a gun and a badge, and then they get out of this immunity. The problem is there is no accountability for the cops. There has to be more accountability, and right now they are rogue street thug gang. I mean, think about it. What this guy did, you could pay any Crips or Bloods to go do this. For what they did to the victims when they're chasing the Dorner guy, they could have had the Crips and Bloods just go out and just shoot people indiscriminately. They could go pay the Crips and Bloods to go search for him. Because, I mean, if all you're doing is just going out and trying to assassinate the guy, this Dorner guy, then just hire the Crips and Bloods or some mercenary group, because that's all you're acting like. The police are supposed to apprehend with the least amount of violence possible. They're not supposed to kill people, assassinate. Of course, they always kill people all the time, and then they claim, oh, well, they committed suicide. Anyway, without further ado, look at this video. It's totally insane.
Flashes of a deputy's gun as he runs after a suspect. This dramatic video, the basis of a lawsuit against the LA County Sheriff's Department. Surveillance cameras at the corner of Long Beach Boulevard and Josephine Avenue in Linwood captured the fatal shooting nearly 2 years ago. The video shows a squad car pulls up next to 3 men walking along the street. The deputy flashes a light at them. As he exits the car, 20-year-old Jonathan Cuevas starts running, and the deputy opens fire. We've frozen the video before it shows one final shot.
He fires 6 shots running towards Jonathan, and the 7th shot he stands over Jonathan and shoots him right through the torso as a coup de grace kill shot.
The deadly encounter happened on the night of October 20th, 2010. According to the coroner's report, 3 of the bullets struck Cuevas in the back, and the 4th went through his right side. The Sheriff's Department says the deputy opened fire after Cuevas pointed a gun at him. The department defends the deputy's actions, saying the shooting has been thoroughly investigated.
Was he armed? Yes. Is the whole story being told now? No. Let's not forget who has already investigated this. Internal Affairs. Office of Independent Review monitoring that. Homicide Bureau. The District Attorney.
The Cuevas family has now filed a $5 million wrongful death lawsuit against the department and says the video shows the 20-year-old posed no threat to the deputy. The family's attorney calls the circumstances surrounding that alleged weapon suspicious.
The weapon that he says Jonathan had is nowhere to be found, but he says it's a silver-plated weapon. The photo of the weapon that they send us is a wood-handled revolver, black weapon.
Now, the attorney says that there were no fingerprints of Cuevas's on that gun, and he questions its authenticity.
And finally, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham told reporters recently that his colleagues in Congress need to get behind President Obama's targeted killing program and protect the president from libertarians and the left. Graham said, quote, "Every member of Congress needs to get on board. It's not fair to leave him alone, leave him out there, quite frankly. He's getting hit from libertarians and the left. I think the middle of America understands why you would want a drone program. The process of being targeted, I think, is legal, quite frankly laborious, and should reside in the commander-in-chief to determine who an enemy combatant is and what kind of force to use." End quote. A leaked Department of Justice white paper explicitly says there exists no appropriate judicial forum to evaluate these constitutional questions. Fox News has the following report.
Action from the White House after a Justice Department memo raises questions about whether the administration has created the power to kill terror suspects, even if they are not involved in an active plot to attack the U.S. and their U.S. citizens. Welcome to America Live. I'm Shannon Bream in for Megyn Kelly. The so-called white paper sparking concerns on both sides of the aisle. A bipartisan group of senators now calling for the president to release all memos related to this new drone policy, while the American Civil Liberties Union calls the document, quote, chilling. The DOJ seems to be arguing that the White House has almost the power to kill indiscriminately. Here's White House Press Secretary Jay Carney just moments ago.
This president takes his responsibilities very seriously, and first and foremost, that's his responsibility to protect the United States and American citizens. He also takes his responsibility in conducting the war against al-Qaeda as authorized by Congress in a way that is fully consistent with our Constitution and all the applicable laws.
All right, Judge Andrew Napolitano is a former New Jersey Superior Court judge and a Fox News senior judicial analyst. He was a vocal critic of some of the Bush administration's war on terror policies. Judge, what do you say to this one?
Well, this one is carrying things to an extreme that most Americans won't recognize, Shannon, because as you stated so nicely in the introduction, a fair interpretation of this 16-page document and of Jay Carney, the president's press secretary, of Jay's interpretation of it, is that the president, or, quote, a high-ranking U.S. government official, close quote, I'm quoting from the document, can kill anyone he wants, no matter what the laws say, no matter what the Constitution says, no matter what this president himself has said. That is nowhere justifiable under the Constitution, nowhere justifiable under federal law. In fact, federal law and the Constitution are to the opposite. Unless you are actually pulling a trigger or within moments of pulling that trigger or dropping a bomb, the government has an obligation to do its best to arrest you and charge you with a crime and prosecute you before it can indiscriminately kill you. In the case at hand, the 3 people killed were Americans. One of them was Anwar al-Awlaki, admittedly an anti-American cleric who the government says participated in plots against us. The other was his 16-year-old son and the son's friend, neither of whom had anything remotely to do with the reason for which the drones were sent there.
All right, there is this letter we mentioned. It is bipartisan. A number of top-ranking senators, Republicans and Democrats alike, have signed on to this letter to the president, essentially saying we have grave concerns about what's being outlined here. They say it's vitally important for Congress and the American public to have a full understanding of how the executive branch interprets the limits and boundaries of this particular authority. And what they're saying here is that there's a lot of wiggle room in these definitions. And when you talk about being able to kill an American citizen, as you said, without the constitutional right to face a jury and all kinds of other due process and things, there's a lot of gray area there. And even if people would argue it's useful now because of someone like Anwar al-Awlaki, you always have to think of where it leads down the line. And you and I know from law school, one of the first things you learn is the slippery slope argument.
Right. Well, I think the members of Congress have a couple of concerns on their hands, on their minds. The first is your argument that this power used today against an unpopular target might be used in the future by another president against a person the president doesn't like, but as to whom there's no moral justification for pursuing whatsoever. Another concern is this 16-page white paper is written so vaguely that the logic from it could actually be extrapolated to permit the president to kill Americans here in the United States. And the third concern the members of Congress have, I would suggest to you, Shannon, is they're upset that they didn't know about this because there's another federal statute that the president violated when he did this without telling them. You see, when the president ramps up the war on terror or decides to move into another area or use the CIA to engage people, whether to arrest them or to kill them, he's required to tell the Senate and House Intelligence Committees ahead of time and get their consent. He apparently didn't do that, and so they're burned by this.
Yeah, not the first time on an important issue that has happened. What about the fact that we have seen other memos unrelated to this out there, but the way that they classify terrorism, they also look at domestic terror issues, and there are those who, there have been memos out there, you've seen them, I've seen them, that have suggested people who have extreme religious views, people who are pro-life. Some of those people could be in some ways considered domestic terrorists. They are on watch lists, or they should be monitored by the government. I mean, how far could this be taken?
Well, you know, early in this administration, Janet Napolitano, no relation, the Secretary of Homeland Security, issued a very startling memorandum. And I remember discussing it with Bill O'Reilly in a whimsical way, but it's really terrifying. The memorandum said people who are pro-life, people who believe in the right to keep and bear arms, returning veterans, people who think the government is too big and the IRS is too powerful, could be characterized as domestic terrorists. Well, that group of people could characterize 2/3 of the country. And this language, this frivolous use of language by this administration, and then claiming they have the right to use force to stop dead in their tracks the people who fit into these categories, violates the principles of the Declaration of Independence and violates the supremacy of the Constitution, which they've taken an oath to uphold. This is all very dangerous stuff. The government gets its powers from the consent of the governed. Do you know anybody who consented to the government doing this?
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Darrell W. Perry. Join us again next week for another episode of Shire TV. May you each find happiness, peace, and prosperity.